also a dear friend of mine. And we all worked together to figure out, well, how can the intimacy of this and the violence kind of work together? How can we make sure everyone feels safe? How can we rehearse and go through the process? Blake was very involved in that and had amazing ideas. Was very hands-on with the choreography of it as well. And you know, honestly, there were many instances on set where I just let the women figure it out, and I took a step back and kind of jumped in more as an actor in those scenes than even as a director, because I didn't want this to feel like it was in any way like these scenes were shot by a man and through a male perspective. I really wanted this to continue and to always be in Lily's perspective and point of view. So yeah, it was great just watching them, and then, you know, Blake choreographing and working with them and everybody. It was just, yeah, some of the most fulfilling moments on set was just watching them figure this out. And then I actually got to just jump in as an actor.
There are evidence for all these points. There are text messages for all these points. And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, it's the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions. And they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
So talking about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes, like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well, you were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
this?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important. You're supposed to, you know, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that, is like safe and respectful for all. So yeah, I guess that's the role of intimacy coordination. But yeah, when I think of my involvement in the film, I don't really see that as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else. You touched on everything else here and there, but yeah, we were really lucky I'm fortunate to be able to have had, you know, such an all-encompassing experience on this film.
Y'all, this whole Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively drama is just spiraling out of control, with new mess dropping every single day. And now, Justin's lawyer has stepped up to spill tea to the press. Baby, he even dropped a voice memo of Justin breaking down exactly what went down the night of the It Ends With Us premiere. Oh, we're listening to that, trust. Plus, we're diving into what Blake's legal team is clapping back with and Justin's team's next moves. It's giving a hot mess express, and we're unpacking all the chaos that went down this week. Oh, and let's not forget, Brian Freeman hit up Megyn Kelly's show to spill even more exclusive tea about Blake, and what Justin's voice memo really exposes about the behind-the-scenes drama of It Ends With Us. Grab your popcorn, cause it's about to get messy. So apparently this voice memo was supposedly sent to Justin's editing team, where he's spilling all about his experience at the It Ends With Us premiere. And listen, we already got a sneak peek into this drama from those text messages he included in his complaint against the New York Times. Yes, he went there. He was out here texting in a group chat called Dream Team. How fitting, right? With his editors, where they were breaking down everything that went down at the premiere. Baby, the tea is scalding, and we're about to sip every last drop. Editor, one says too late, and I talked earlier and agreed. We just couldn't be in the same room with Blake. The last day to get our tickets was August 2nd. Editor 2 said we'll be loving all of the red carpet looks from you. Justin says a long story, but we won't be in the same room. I was asked to not even come to the premiere. I can figure it out. Editor 2 says I'm glad you're going. You did all of the work. Editor 1 says that was the main reason we didn't go, because we were under the impression you wouldn't be there. In the voice memo, Justin lays it all out. Honey, giving us the play-by-play of what he says, really went down at that It Ends With Us premiere. Baby, he's not holding back. You can practically feel the tension through his words. This ain't just some hearsay. He's putting it all on the record, and you already know we're gonna dissect every single detail. Let's get into it.
On what, you know, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, like, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing. Because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists. And we believe in what we do. And because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
Justin's lawyer, Brian, has been making his rounds in the press, and baby, he's not playing. He's made it crystal clear that this isn't just about the lawsuit against the New York Times. Oh no, they're coming straight for Blake Lively next. And get this, they're planning to drop text messages and even more receipts from the conversations between Blake and Justin. Whew, it's about to get real messy, real quick. You know we love a good legal showdown, so stay tuned because the tea is about to overflow.
There are evidence for all these points. There are text messages for all these points. And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, it's the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions. And they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
And baby, Brian wasn't done. He straight up said they're planning to sue Blake into oblivion. Whew, the audacity is auditing. This man is not pulling any punches, and it sounds like they're ready to take this fight to a whole new level. You already know this is about to get even messier, so buckle up because the drama train has no brakes.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Ryan Reynolds, for sure.
Justin's lawyer, Brian, later switched gears to address the harassment allegations Blake made against Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath. But then, get this, he randomly brought up that Blake didn't even read the book It Ends With Us. Like, huh? It was such a weird flex, especially since he didn't even finish whatever point he was trying to make with that little nugget of info. Baby, the whole thing just felt messy and all over the place, but here's exactly what he said. Let's break it down.
We've just, been through the Me Too movement. We've heard all sorts of serious allegations of harassment that are really meaningful to victims and really important and whatnot. Blake Lively, if she was harassed to such a degree in this film and in this situation, she wouldn't have returned to the film. And they had sat down and they had talked about what her complaints were. The unfortunate thing is she actually didn't read the book and didn't understand what the book was about. And as a result of that, yes, and as a result of that, the complaints are things like he had gone into her trailer when she was breastfeeding, to which there are text messages that address that.
Justin's lawyer also let it slip to the press that they're not holding back on this case. He hinted that they've got even more receipts ready to drop, saying this isn't just about defending Justin's reputation, it's about exposing the real story behind all this drama. Baby, they're coming with that full court press. And when lawyers start talking like this, the tea is about to boil over. He's crafting up a lawsuit against Blake's PR person, Leslie Sloan. In Justin's complaint against the New York Times, we get a peek at some wild text messages, where Justin's team talks about how Blake's publicist, Leslie, is out here thinking all these negative stories about Blake are somehow their doing. But nah, they're claiming Blake is out here doing all of that to herself. Sis, what kind of mess? Since Blake's complaint dropped, though, she's been drowning in support from the industry, including Colleen Hoover, the author of It Ends With Us, and her co-stars from the film, plus a whole squad of former Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants castmates and her fam. But when it comes to Justin, it's been crickets as far as public support. Except for what we're seeing in the comment sections of posts about this legal mess. That's raising some serious eyebrows, huh? The silence is deafening. And trust, we're watching every move. And listen, if Justin's team really does drop a website full of text messages and even more receipts, the public is about to have a field day dissecting and analyzing everything under the sun. It's about to be an online frenzy, trust. But what's truly fascinating here is just how deep this situation goes. There are so many layers, so many players in the game. This isn't just a Blake versus Justin thing. We've got his PR crisis management team, his publicist business partners, and even his old publicist suing him. The whole thing is coming at us from all angles, and I honestly have no clue where it's gonna land or when. It's wild how much conversation has already happened, and it feels like we're nearing the end. But nope, with Brian talking about more lawsuits in the works, y'all better get ready because this roller coaster is far from over. Hold tight because the ride is just beginning. Now, this week, Blake's lawyers did step up with a statement on her behalf, and ABC wrote, "Hold up, let's get into what they had to say." In the new statement released January 7th, Lively's lawyers said, Ms. Lively's federal litigation before the Southern District of New York involves serious claims of harassment and retaliation, backed by concrete facts. This is not a feud arising from creative differences or a he said, she said situation. As alleged in Ms. Lively's complaint, and as we will prove in litigation, Wayfair and its associates engaged in unlawful retaliatory astroturfing against Ms. Lively for simply trying to protect herself and others on a film set. The statement issued on Lively's behalf also claimed that Baldoni's response, his lawsuit filed December 31st against the New York Times, was allegedly meant to launch more attacks against Ms. Lively since her filing. The statement continued, "While we go through the legal process, we urge everyone to remember that harassment and retaliation are illegal in every workplace and in every industry. A classic tactic to distract from allegations of this type of misconduct is to blame the victim by suggesting that they invited the conduct, brought it on themselves, misunderstood the intentions, or even lied. Another classic tactic is to reverse the victim and offender and suggest that the offender is actually the victim. These concepts normalize and trivialize allegations of serious misconduct." The statement concluded, "Most importantly, media statements are now." So now, folks are really diving into old interviews, trying to piece together what was really going on during the It Ends With Us press tour. Baby, it's all starting to look a little confusing, especially when we get into this whole talk about the intimacy coordinator. According to Blake's complaint, she laid out some pretty strict conditions for resuming filming after the strike. We're talking no improvising kisses. All intimate touches must be choreographed ahead of time with Blake and an intimacy coordinator. No biting or sucking on the lips without Blake's consent. And get this, every single intimate moment on camera, including conversations, must be in character. None of that personal chit-chat from Mr. Baldoni to Blake, no ma'am. And to top it all off, an intimacy coordinator had to be on set for any scene involving nudity or simulated acts, with a monitor to make sure everything was following the rules. Now, people are looking back at those interviews like, wait a minute, was this even happening before? Especially since the New York Times dropped some wild info that got everyone asking even more questions. What's really going on behind closed doors, though? Because this isn't adding up. During shooting Blake Lively, the co-star had complained that the men had repeatedly violated physical boundaries and made inappropriate comments to her. Their studio Wayfair agreed to provide a full-time intimacy coordinator, bring in an outside producer, and put other safeguards on set. In a side letter to Miss Lively's contract signed by Mr. Heath, the studio also agreed not to retaliate against the actress. So, now the plot thickens, because it's starting to sound like folks thought there wasn't an intimacy coordinator until Blake raised a fuss. But hold up, Justin's complaint against the New York Times includes text messages between him and Blake, where they're talking about having an intimacy coordinator on set. Now, of course, it could be that this person wasn't on set all the time, and Blake might have felt like she needed one after experiencing certain things on set. But here's the kicker. Just because Blake didn't want to meet with the coordinator until filming started, doesn't mean she didn't want one at all. It's all starting to feel like a bit of a gray area, and trust, these interviews are revealing some juicy details, especially the one where Justin and Blake are talking about the intimacy coordinator they supposedly had. So let's get into what Blake had to say. Buckle up, y'all.
So talking about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes, like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank
you
goodness.
were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
love
seen
that.
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that is like safe and respectful for all. So yeah, I guess that's the role of intimacy coordination. But yeah, when I think of my involvement in the film, I don't really see that as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else. You touched on everything else here and there, but yeah, we were really lucky I'm fortunate to be able to have had such an all-encompassing experience on this film.
And like I said, Justin's been out here talking about the intimacy coordinator too. And baby, it's giving mixed signals. In one of those interviews, he was seen discussing the coordinator, and the way he spoke about it, you could tell he was trying to paint a picture that they were all on the same page with everything. But, as always, the devil's in the details. We're about to hear exactly what he had to say, and trust, it adds even more layers to this already complicated situation. The way this whole intimacy coordinator talk is being spun by both of them is truly something else. Let's get into it.
Right when we started production, we started searching for our intimacy coordinator, and we ended up having 2 intimacy coordinators because we had a big long break in between because we had 2 strikes. We had a writer strike and an actor strike happen. So we had 2 intimacy coordinators, and early on, as I was beginning to start the process of adapting this film, I'm a man, and this is a story that is told through the lens of a woman. And especially when it relates to intimacy scenes and to scenes where there is a mix of intimacy and violence, I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze. And in no way was I running them through my male brain. As much as I can try to see the world as a woman, I never will be able to. And I know what I don't know. So early on, we brought on an intimacy coordinator, and I started meeting with her to figure out, what are ways that I can shoot this? How can this always reflect back, one, to the source material, and while we might not be recreating exactly what was in the book, how can we recreate the feeling and the emotion and what Lily was experiencing in each of those scenes as it relates to the book. And then when it came to bringing on a stunt coordinator, also it was important to me that it was a woman. We brought on Lauren Shaw.
Now, I don't know if this was just Justin's PR answer, trying to play the nice guy, but honey, it's definitely interesting. He was out here talking about how he wanted to take a back seat to let the female gaze come through in the film. But plot twist, this is the same dude who's been throwing a fit about Blake taking control of the movie. It makes sense because on one hand, he's all about the female perspective, but on the other, he's clearly not vibrating with how Blake's been handling things behind the scenes. Baby, the contradictions are real, and it's got everyone side-eyeing this whole narrative. Can we even trust the backseat story? Or is it just more PR spin? The tea is hot, and the contradictions are real.
He's also a dear friend of mine. And we all worked together to figure out, well, how can the intimacy of this and the violence kind of work together? How can we make sure everyone feels safe? How can we rehearse and go through the process? Blake was very involved in that and had amazing ideas. Was very hands-on with the choreography of it as well. And honestly, there were many instances on set where I just let the women figure it out, and I took a step back and kind of jumped in more as an actor in those scenes than even as a director, because I didn't want this to feel like it was in any way like these scenes were shot by a man and through a male perspective. I really wanted this to continue and to always be in Lily's perspective and point of view. So yeah, it was great just watching them, and then Blake choreographing and working with them and everybody. It was just, yeah, some of the most fulfilling moments on set was just watching them figure this out, and then I actually got to just jump in as an actor.
That's just a taste of the conversation swirling around right now, and we've barely scratched the surface. Justin's lawyer is out here giving us all kinds of tea, and Blake's team is fighting back with their own receipts. We can't even imagine how much more is about to drop as this case makes its way through the courts. As of right now, though, this is where we're at, grabbing our popcorn and just watching it all unfold. But don't worry, we're gonna be right here, keeping an eye on every twist and turn in this drama. This is far from over, and the way things are going, we'll be talking about this for months to come.